All right, I'll say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? Allow me to bid you greetings, for I have not spoke to you for quite some time, and simply say, you are doing a marvelous job. I thank you, and simply say, one moment. All right, let's get going. We begin this interaction with the entitlement. Expectation and disappointment. First of all, understand that being in your reality, that you are the assigners of meaning. You are ultimately the appointers as well as the appointees of your reality. You are the appointers. You appoint meaning, you appoint yourself, you commit, you have conviction in any given situation according to your own means, according to your own ability to respond, your own response ability. Therefore, quite truly, being the appointer, only you can disappoint yourself. Only you can remove or shift the meaning of who you have committed yourself to be. What we are about to discuss goes very closely in hand with what you call clear intention. For once again, clear intention is your vision, is the thing or things or event that you truly wish to manifest. And clarifying to whatever degree that you are willing what this vision is creating a clear intention. As we have said many times, if something is not available in a given moment that you intend to do, you have the choice to say, well, since it's not present, it must not be forthcoming, I give up. Or you always then have the choice also to look at it from the perspective of, well, obviously, the timing of my reality tells me that now is not the time, but I still fully intend on doing or manifesting or experiencing whatever it is. Maintaining that clear intention and allowing your reality to be obvious in its deliverance of timing, well, it's available or it's not available. The maintenance of that clear intention is what allows you to create anything that you wish. And it is when you give up, so to speak, or let loose that intention, that truly then you, in a sense, realign yourself to another intention. For you always have some intention. Even if your overall intention is that you don't intend to do anything, that is an intention as well. When you speak about the idea of expectation, this in general is a rigid receptivity. Meaning that you expect something to come in a particular way, at a particular time, and if it does not, then it will not. And that is one way to look at it. Maintaining, however, your clear intention and trusting that something being not forthcoming in a given moment is simply the timing, but being willing to maintain that clear intention is a form of not expectation, but expectancy. That is the knowingness that whatever you clearly intend will happen, and trusting in the unfoldment of the timing as to when it will. That is expectancy. Well, I know it will happen, period. No conditions. But when you begin to impose rigid conditions, rigid receptivity on an idea, well, I insist that I create this, and I insist that I create it exactly this way, and I insist that I create it exactly at this timing, that is setting yourself up. That is an expectation for the purposes of delineating and applying discrete definitions to what we are saying. Now, many of these words in your language are interchangeable, but we simply use them in this way for the purposes of consistency. Therefore, expectation will be rigidly insisting that something must come in a particular way at a particular timing. Expectancy is the unswerving knowingness that you get what you want, simply at the beginning, not always when you want it, or when you think is the only time that it will serve you. When something is not immediately forthcoming, again, I remind you that it is not that it is being held from you. The purpose of the trust in the timing is to understand that there are certain things that you have not yet attracted, certain knowledge that you do not yet have, certain resources which are not yet at your disposal to fully appreciate the thing that you say is your clear intention. For many times when you formulate a clear intention, you cannot possibly take into consideration variables which are not present when you formulate it. Your formulation of it is your statement to the universe that this is who I am, this is what I desire. Your allowing it to play out in perfect timing is the acknowledgement that whatever you wish to have is forthcoming, you will get it. But sometimes it will be far more splendorous than you could have possibly initially imagined. There will be certain things that you will attain or obtain along the way that will allow and enhance your appreciation of the thing that you say you wish to create. Your willingness to begin to trust this takes the form of expectancy. I know this will happen. I thought it might happen today. I would have liked for it to happen today, but it didn't. All right. Then therefore, obviously, there is still something else which will assist me to fully appreciate the thing that I wish to create. I still wish to create it. I maintain it as a clear intention and put it aside. For it is not immediately available, and not being immediately available in that moment, if I keep my attention upon it, it is at the cost of what is right in front of me. If I simply maintain it as a vibratory clear intention, push it aside with the maintenance of it as an intention, and now in removing that from my vision, see what is right in front of me, that allows me to reground to the moment and allows me to begin to make choices from what is available according to your excitement. That is continuing to appoint yourself, continuing to apply yourself to each moment. When you insist it must come right now, otherwise I do not believe it will ever come, you take that same appointment and disappoint yourself. You set yourself up, so to speak. Eventually, the time will come where there will be a very short time lag between the having of the desire and the manifesting of the thing. For you are automatic creators, and on the causal level, once you have a desire, once you have a thought with conviction, it automatically manifests simultaneously. But when you are exploring time and timeline and lineage, you will insert a, shall we say, lag, an echo from the having of the idea to the playing out along a timeline to the manifestation of that idea. Because of your upbringing and your approach till now, you have very often bought into that if something is not coming right now, it will not come, and you create more time, more space, therefore more time in which to experience that space. So you have set up a momentum very often of having a desire and then not allowing it to manifest for a long time with a large lag. But as you begin to trust your timing, as you begin to assert your clear intention and not allow any specific in any given moment to talk you out of it because it's not available, you begin to lessen that time lag. You begin to, in that trust, stay in your flow. And though in a moment where something that you desire is not forthcoming, if you maintain it as a clear intention, push it aside and reground yourself to what is there in that moment and act upon what is there in that moment, you get an effect from what is there in that moment. And that effect very often will be directly, obviously applicable toward the thing that you say you intend to do. If you are willing to apply this trust in situ, in the situation, you begin in utilizing this trust to create less details, to create less doubt, and therefore create less time between the having of the desire and the manifesting of it. And as you begin to trust your reality, trust your timing, trust the situation and allow it to be obvious, you do actually begin to create less of a lag between the having of the idea and the manifestation of it. Eventually, again, it is almost instantaneous, but because you are still choosing to remain physical, there will in general still be a lag, though perhaps very short. Having trust in this mechanism speeds up the mechanism. Being completely unwilling to trust the mechanism allows it to stay in place, allows that time lag to remain quite long. So therefore, if you will begin to have a positive expectancy linked as an extension of your clear intention that this will happen. It is who I am. It excites me. Therefore, I intend for it to happen. Therefore, it will. I know it. I just don't know when and not exactly how. When you are beginning to approach it that way, and then now again that you are not fixated on what is not available, ground yourself back into what is available in any given moment, you will begin to find yourself no longer disappointing yourself from your momentum, disappointing yourself from your intention. The disappointment, again, simply comes from doubt in the timing, and I remind you that doubt is in no way a lack of trust. Doubt is a complete and infinite trust, generally in the thing you say you do not prefer. So when you say, I doubt my timing, you actually say, I trust that I will not have a timing that will be beneficial to me. You are not having faith, not having trust. You are simply trusting in the very thing you say you don't prefer. And when you do that, whatever you believe, whatever you trust, then by extension will provide the evidence to make that seem as the only truth. For all belief systems, all things that you trust have within them a built-in self-sustaining mechanism of logic, which allows it to be consistent, of evidence, which allows it to seem to provide that seeing is believing. But when you change the belief, you see different evidence, you see different logic. So therefore, adversely, believing is truly seeing. But it is up to you to first decide with conviction, intend to have the beliefs that you prefer. For when you grant that to yourself, you then begin to create the reality that you prefer. You then begin to see, when I have this expectancy, it always happens. When I insist in a rigid expectation fashion that it must come and do not allow the universe to deliver it in the path of least resistance in its most enhanced state, then you create more evidence to continue to doubt, colloquially speaking, your timing. Therefore, it is always completely, 100% up to you. It always has been. It always will be. This is the nature of your ability as a pointer and a pointee. Now, we can, in that sense, expand upon this in the form of interaction, if there are any questions and sharings. But allow me, before we do proceed to the format of interchange and exchange, to once again, and for the first time, thank you all for your willingness to appoint yourself to the reality that you prefer and begin to expect the results that you know you deserve. For you all do deserve to create anything that you wish to create, and all have the power to create anything that you wish to create without having to harm yourself or someone else. It is actually far easier to create what you wish to by harming yourself or someone else. But you have such great power that you also have the alternative to not harm yourself or someone else and also create the thing that you prefer. When you are proceeding from that perspective, doing no harm, you are operating within your understanding of your integration with all things, hence and therefore acting with integrity. Therefore, when acting that way, you can never get anything but an integrated result. For you are functioning, you are acting as an embodiment, as an expression of the belief that all things truly are within you, that you are creating this scenario to explore and to share and to unfold into more of yourself, to take the portions of yourself that you prefer and live them and apply them, and to look at the portions of yourself that you do not prefer and understand that it's all right to have those perspectives, but simply you do not prefer to embody them. Validating the things that you do not prefer and acting upon the things that you do prefer. That is an integrated approach. That is truly moving as though you believe that you create your own reality, that it is an integrated extension of you, and that therefore you can proceed as the embodiment of this idea. That is what gives you then the effect, the logic, and the evidence that you do indeed create your own reality. You do. And even if you are creating that it feels like you don't, so great is your power, you are creating that. And can never escape fundamentally, foundationally, the idea that you created all. And I do not mean philosophically. I do not mean you have slight, shall we say, control over certain circumstances. I and we mean completely the whole reality. And again, to be most accurate, you are not even within a reality. That is an apparency. The reality is within you. Much again as waking from your sleeping dream, and you say, well, I felt like I was really there, but it all must have happened within me. That is a direct applicable analogy to the rubbing of the sandman's dust from the eyes of your soul when you die, so to speak. You truly begin to understand that the reality that you just created was real, but existed within you, is an extension of you. You are creating it. We thank you for your willingness to begin to create it in such a way where your expansion and your unfoldment begins to create an acceptance and an expectancy that you will begin to see reflections from the far heretofore unexplored portions of your consciousness. Alien, if you will, portions of your consciousness. And thus, we are a symbol, very blatantly I might add, of the alien reflection of the things within you that truly are a part of you. You cannot separate them out from who you are, but perhaps to this point you have looked at as being separate, as being alien. But as you begin to embody a creator, you begin to realize reality is within you. You begin to realize it's safe to look at any idea within you. Then you begin to drum up again external reflections of this change in mentality. For because it is all within you, whatever your mentality creates, you then see a reflection of, seemingly, because you create it that way in relation to yourself, externally. So thank you very much for allowing me and us to be a symbol of the unfoldment, to be a symbol of the exploration of new portions of yourself, but ultimately to function as a reflection, to allow you to know in no uncertain terms, in a, so to speak, down-to-earth way, that you do indeed create it all, and there are no exceptions, except the exceptions that you define. We thank you for this willingness, for it is the greatest of gifts to us greater than any physical gift that you might share with us. It is the gift of your consciousness. It is the gift of your willingness to exchange as an equal. And to us, this brings us great emotion, great joy. And we do not take this in any way for granted. I thank you and ask you how I and we may be of service to you. Shedding. Ice.
Can anyone ever dissuade you from your true intention if you really intend it?
Only in the moment that you allow them to by matching that or buying into what they are saying, which is another way of saying matching it. So ultimately, no, until you participate. Do proceed.
Well, I think Bashar had said at one of the earlier sessions that whatever we do, we're responsible for creating within our own reality. But what happens when your reality bumps up against somebody else's and you expected that they would support you and they really didn't? For instance, we went out to dinner the other night and I ordered dessert and they forgot to put it on the check. And when the lady came, I made her aware of this because my intention right now, not having any great lofty goals for my life, is just to try to be the very best person staying in this moment that I can be. And that was wrong to me. I mean, I ate the dessert and I wanted to pay for it. And my husband got very angry at me because he said it's up to the restaurant's responsibility to make it right and all this kind of stuff. And he got extremely angry. And I didn't expect that.
Do you agree?
No.
All right. Did you thank him?
No.
All he did was offer you his gift, his perspective. This allows you to see, well, maybe I actually agree with him, or no, I don't agree with him. And thank you for allowing me to see that I really don't agree with that. And then explaining your point of view with unconditional love and integrity and saying, I respect what you are saying. I understand it. Perhaps if it happens to you, that may be how you will wish to proceed. But I personally do not feel that that is my expression of integrity. So thank you for sharing that with me. I will pay for my dessert. You will do what you do next time. And then I will give you my opinion. But the point is, there need not be an insistence. And there need not be looking at how he has bequeathed a gift unto you, that gift need be perceived, regardless of the intention in the giving of the gift, as an attack. It is simply a sharing. It is simply a perspective. It is simply one of the many ideas within you. For, make no mistake about it, you contain everything, the whole reality. So you also contain what he's saying. Simply, now you are looking at not that I only contain this and not that. I contain both and I choose this because I prefer it. So he was simply reminding you that you also contain the other idea and giving you, perhaps you can say, an opportunity to decide how sincerely and heartfelt this was to you. Now, you need not in the future then go into judgment. And the point of asking you if you thanked him was rather than going into judgment, you can always, rather than that, go into appreciation. Thank you.
So I wasn't really angry back, and I didn't feel that I was judging him. It's just that at that point, he said that it had spoiled the whole evening and it was all my fault and all this kind of stuff. And I suppose on some level I must have bought into that because I came home and I was quite depressed, But then I thought, darn it all, if I'm here to live this life of mine, then I have to do it the way I have to do it, with integrity for all things. We're all part of everything.
Nice.
And that poor waiter, who didn't put it on there, they're going to lose. I mean, I don't have to steal my way through life.
But the point is this. You allowed him to demonstrate something to you, a living example of what he is saying. Perhaps at some point you more strongly bought into that, perhaps not. The point is, you are also reflecting to him. And when he sees she is not invalidating what I'm saying, though she doesn't agree with a bit of it, you then instill this, shall we say, air of unconditional love and acceptance and show that you do not have to by any means agree, simply validate each other's point of view. Understand that as much as you have the right to believe that, which you do obviously, he also has the right to express the converse. Right. You contain the converse in you, simply do not choose it. And then when he sees you're not criticizing his criticism of you, but simply continuing to be who you are and perhaps thanking him for the perspective, which generally leaves them scratching their heads, You then begin to function as a living example and will begin to perhaps welcome feedback of that nature to give yourself the opportunity in action to represent your centered point of view. You will create, shall we say, perhaps similar, perhaps slightly different, a circumstance of this nature again, though when you find your reaction to be different, you will enjoy the dessert and then not be all depressed.
Well, of all the people that are in this room, it seems like everybody has a lot of very high ideals and lofty intentions, and they're very centered in about what they want to do. Is it enough just to intend to be the very best you can and allow the universe to show you the way? In other words,
that is up to you
take
completely.
Each moment as it comes without having to have a goal that you're trying to always go towards, that you would then feel you had failed by not reaching.
Well, that is one perspective. What are you truly asking?
I guess I want to know, I don't have some great lofty intention.
By the way, not everyone in this room would have given the money back. At least from my perception.
Yeah.
Now, I am not berating them, and they are simply the viewpoint of your husband, which is a valid viewpoint. However, ultimately, you can only choose to be who you are and choose to function as a reflection of who you are so that individuals can see, look, that actually works. There's a living example of it.
So I have to trust that that's enough for me.
Well, you don't have to,
No.
But if you do, you will get the effect of feeling that self-trust, that self-love, and no longer depress or remove yourself from a situation. Simply reflect who you are in full willingness to allow him or whoever else to reflect who they are. And again, one step further is to actually display the appreciation for the viewpoint that you do not prefer in the form of appreciation or gratitude. Well, thank you, but no thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Shutting ice.
Will you comment on how loving yourself and being in the moment causes our creation to manifest faster and our expectancy to eliminate time in it? But by loving ourselves more,
Loving yourself more, or in that sense, unconditionally being willing to love yourself, simply allows you to trust what excites you enough to begin to act upon it. Remaining in the moment is taking into consideration what is available. Therefore, you are always choosing from something readily available, acting and getting an effect, which accelerates the reality. When you quote unquote spend a now moment lamenting about a perceived past, lamenting about a dreaded projected future, you create time in which to do so. So literally, when you follow your excitement in the moment and act upon that with integrity, you are moving, you are doing, you are creating, you are getting effects. Those effects begin to come one after another. And it always seems like something is going on. There is not stagnation. There is not paralysis. That is not from trusting who you are, loving yourself, and expressing that love in the form of acting on your excitement with integrity. Does that answer the question?
yes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Shutting.
Elan?
Ice.
Hello, greetings.
And to you.
Nice to speak with you again.
Ice. And for the first time.
Why?
Because it's always the first time.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
That is one very fresh perspective on how to look at it. That way you do not create what you sometimes call in your society boredom. For there are truly no boring situations, only bored minds.
I have the word expectancy in my head. I'm wondering what that means. It's been banging around the past few days in my head.
Well, in a sense, perhaps it is the seed of your clear intention with the water of your trust in the expectancy that you will, in that sense, manifest that intention.
Yeah, it's definitely plural. You know, expectancy. It's
All right.
and
Perhaps you can, in your little, all right, bag of seeds, include a few ecstasies.
yes, I'll do that. And speaking of seeds, I do have a question about the idea of birth. And in my life, I've manifested this quite a bit with children. I've been feeling definitely a rebirth in myself.
Nice.
And I've now become aware of another birth from your perspective. And I'm not sure, it's a shot in the light, if you will, not in the dark. But,
Oh, very clever.
yeah.
Same thing.
I feel like there's a pregnancy at hand. Is that happening now? Or, I mean, I know there's many there on Essassani, but I felt quite moved by this the other night.
You are, shall we say, connecting with something, yes.
It's an actual birth then?
Well, it becomes quite arbitrary, for time frames are quite muddled in comparing your time frame to ours. So simply, you may understand that you are connecting with a time frame which has a very relevant event within it for you. It is not necessarily contemporary to what I consider to be my now moment, and this gets confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel it's this birth. I'm in communication with this so-called fetus, I believe, and it's
All right.
I'll leave it at that.
All right. The fetus will not fail you now.
I mean, I've been.
By the way, it's your language.
Yeah. So perhaps this new birth has very much to do with me. Not that it matters so much, but about as far as future self.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you have a question on expectation and disappointment?
I know. Well, I thought about that. I thought, what approach I can take with this. And I guess it was expecting you validating some of the things I was going to say.
All right.
I'm not disappointed.
Oh, thank you.
I was ready for this. It was okay. And I haven't asked directly what I really wanted to ask before.
All right.
So,
Then, on this particular note, we will end this particular interchange.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
I expect
You are quite psychic.
I did.
Shedding.
Elan.
Ace, female.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
I have a couple. I just wanted to do a sharing first.
All right.
I was thinking of the referential preferential you because I'm going through a deep change in my body on a cellular level.
All right.
Old patterns and memories, and my physical body is actually changing.
All right. One moment, though. For those who are perhaps new to these interactions, we discuss quite often the using of your imagination to create a model or template that you can access at any given time in your life. We refer to the creation of, perhaps you can say, colloquially speaking, the preferred you in your imagination that we refer to, since you will refer back to, as the referential, preferential you. When you create the model of this in your imagination, you can always hand over situations to that referential, preferential you, see what the preferred you does, and then as, again, a model or template, have a set of actions that, if you perform, will yield a similar result. So it is a tool of transformation. It is a tool of preference, a tool of validation. Do proceed.
I was going to say.
Not really. Cellular changes, referential, preferential, you.
Okay. But I remember when we did that meditation here, bringing in the referential, preferential you, and I got some very clear picture. And then you said just sort of, keep your intention clear and put it on the shelf and let whatever happens. So it's been happening for a couple of months and it's still happening where I get incredible healing experiences on myself. My body unwinds in all these positions. I look like Shiva and all this stuff.
Have you handed situations over to that you?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I've done that.
Has it come forth with acceptable alternatives to your perhaps automatic actions?
Yes.
Well, right.
Yes. And situations in my life are old. I'm waiting for the patterns are lifting. I see a situation. I see the old response in the pattern. And then I choose not to, and I feel the pattern actually lifting from my cells on it.
In a sense, you are recreating or transforming to the new preferred self, literally.
I know, literally. That's what I mean. And so I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you.
I get almost so excited where to me I forget I'm grounded. I don't know if that.
Well, in a sense, you will always give yourself a reminder of that.
Yeah. So that's.
But simply by grounded, we simply mean remaining engaged in the actions of your reality. For the mentalizing in that sense is not perhaps the ultimate purpose in a physical reality. The physicalization is one of the main manifestors or direct builders or movers in your reality. So staying grounded simply means remaining in action according to your excitement, preference, with integrity.
So with my preference with integrity, I've left Nantucket. I did get someone to rent my space. I was looking to leave there. And
by the way, did that not work out quite simply?
Yes, it did.
All you needed to do was make the decision.
I did. I made the decision. I wrote the letter.
And proceeded with integrity.
Yes, and I put an ad in the paper and I had about 20 calls in one day.
Oh, thank you.
So I was thinking of what you had said to me. So here I am back in Connecticut and I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, how exciting! Congratulations! Welcome to the club.
It feels exciting if I stay in that vein. I do know I have an intention to go to Italy this summer and study with this person that I want to teach with, this healer in Italy. And it's $10,000.
Well,
it's in July. So that's my clear intention. How, where the money's coming from, how this is going to manifest, I don't know.
Well, also be open to the fact that it need not necessarily, now it may, but it need not necessarily have to come in the form of that particular amount of money. Perhaps you will find certain opportunities will arise whereby it will be far easier to actually take someone's, shall we say, offer to offset, so to speak, some of those costs. If you rigidly apply the expectation that the only way you will go is if I attract $10,000, you are perhaps setting up a possibility of disappointing yourself. If you simply have the expectancy, this is who I am going, it is within my integrity, it is within my excitement, and I will now remain open. I will open that expectation into an expectancy. You begin to allow your reality to deliver in whatever way it will, any symbol that will enable you. So you need not rigidly assume that's the only way, that is one way.
So just aligning with I am going. And
as an opportunity arises, act. Move, physicalize.
Okay. The action part in that aspect is I'm going to do that. But I met a man. Like I remember I said I was going to meet a man in Sedona, and I did. Well,
what a coincidence. Someone's happy about it. All right. Looks the same to me.
And I have this incredible excitement about this, and he lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And I had guidance and my excitement that the airlines had this great special. It was like $200 to go to Atlanta. So I made a reservation, and I didn't put the money down on it. It was just like, well, hold the reservation, and I have to talk to him first and figure out all this stuff. And so I waited for 5 days of my fear got in the way. By the time I got a hold of him, the special was gone. And now I'm going, but I'm paying almost twice as much.
All right. So therefore, act, move, get going.
So how do I not interpret that as a negative outcome that I'm paying more money? You know what I was saying?
Next time a similar circumstance comes along, what will you do?
Act.
Therefore, thank goodness that happened. It was a reflection that you will wish to act and was of service to you.
Okay. Also, I'm going for...
One moment. Does that really sit with you?
No, say it again, please.
Oh. I thought not. Because you wound up paying more money and allowed yourself to see that hesitation can have that result, you will be less prone to hesitate. Therefore, the paying the more money literally wound up serving you to become less prone from this point forward to be hesitant. Got it?
Got it.
You sure?
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes.
You can use everything in your reality in this way. And that is not being complacent about it, simply gleaning how it has been of service to you, rather than saying, well, this must be the one extraneous creation in all of reality.
Okay. Well, I'm going there for a week, and then the week after that, I'll be away in school, so I'm not going to be working for 2 weeks. And that's a little, I could interpret that as a little.
Well, that is what it is. Then you get to interpret it whatever way you wish.
Okay, well.
Would it be your preference to spend that time in lamenting and misery?
No.
Therefore, begin now to use the referential, preferential you to move through that time. To see, all right, here is a space, again, colloquially speaking of time, and I cannot work. Therefore, move that aside. You can sit spending the whole time saying, I cannot work, and then not see what you can do. Concentrate on what's right in front of you. Choose from those options with your excitement. The very most basic idea that we share with you applies in every situation. And have a good time.
Yeah, well, there is a possibility that I may have some clients in Atlanta when I get there.
If you ease up about it and allow it to be what it is, that will increase those chances. But do not build in an expectation. Simply have the expectancy that no matter what happens, it will serve you. And your intention is to be served without creating misery and lack.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You have created it all. Shutting.
Elan.
Female. Then over there.
I have a question that relates to,
Greetings.
excuse me.
No need to excuse yourself.
It's nice to talk with you.
And you as well.
I have a question that relates to expectation
All right.
and clear intention.
How apropos.
I am preparing for tours to, my sacred journeys, and there's one to the Yucatan, and when I was in Mexico.
One moment. Everyone, please listen up. Many of you will be on these tours. Do proceed.
Yeah, that's right, darling.
Many wonderful things happened there when I was in Mexico, and people came and wonderful situations happened. There's an area, and it's at Chichen Itza, and it's near the beginning of the tour for the first few days, where I personally don't feel capable and knowledgeable enough to teach there, and I would like a Mayan teacher to teach. And I've been waiting for several months for a recommendation from someone who is a Mayan teacher. It's my ex-husband. And I just heard from him, and he would like me to work with him on some of his tours. And
Does that excite you?
I enjoy working with him.
One moment. Does that excite you?
Well,
Am I asking a difficult question?
the part that I like about it is that I would be there because I love being there so much.
So it does not excite you necessarily in that form, correct?
In that form.
All right.
Right.
Trust that, first of all. Second of all,
Right.
what makes you think that you are not an adequate teacher in this regard? If it is something in that sense that excites you, you have knowledge and particular focus within it that draws your attention, and in general, you will be interacting with people with little or no knowledge at all about it. Why are you assuming that your level of expertise is not exactly the level to orient those that you involve?
Because I have a certain level of knowledge of how archaeologists would describe the sites, and I have a certain level, but it's not a great level of how a traditional or a Mayan person would describe
Now,
these sites.
that is an assumption. With the archaeological, quote-unquote, archaeological information, do you not also possess an acute intuition? Do you not also have your own perceptions of the metaphysical meanings behind the archaeological representations?
I have some, but I would like more.
All right. Are you willing to begin to allow yourself to attract more?
Yes.
All right.
But if I'm in a position of conducting people, I feel like I should have, I guess I feel like I should have more of that knowledge, more knowledge of the meaning of the symbols and of the places than I do.
Are you willing in that sense to co-teach, thereby enabling yourself to express to others, but also to yourself to what level you are able to communicate, then interacting and allowing to watch someone else already doing the thing you say you wish to do it, allow that to rub off on you, and begin in that sense to more actively participate within this? Has that occurred to you? You are a very strong teacher, both in ancient times, but perhaps potentially and untapped in this life as well. That is why I am bringing this up.
How would you see a situation where I would co-teach? That sounds comfortable and interesting to me. Who would be the other teacher? Okay.
Does anyone immediately come to mind as being blatantly obvious?
No.
All right. Then put out the message.
Uh-huh.
Now that you have defined clearly your intention, it is a different request than you were making, and thereby will appeal to different individuals. Do you understand?
I think I'm getting...
You are clarifying your intention. Now that you have, if indeed this excites you, and I am not pushing you, put it out. Put out wherever you can, wherever it is available to do something about it.
The assumption is that this person would be Mayan and from the Yucatan.
Now, that is not necessarily so, but it can be. That is one option.
So I could
attract an individual who is as attracted to that symbology as you are, who has explored, perhaps via reading, perhaps via archaeological ideas, but also intuition.
So it could be a person from this country.
It can be anyone. Allow the expectancy to be that open. It may be a Mayan, but it may not. And if the information is what it is that you wish to convey, does it really matter who it is?
I guess not, because what I would like is to tap into and share the real message of these places. And so I guess that could be a person like myself who is really attuned to it.
Do not assume that in your intuitive state, in your meditative state, that you are not capable of bringing forth information which is not generally shared, which is relatively unknown. The only thing that bars you from doing so is that assumption. You are directly connected to this symbol, have lived many lives in these civilizations, are directly connected to many other individuals who have also done so.
That I currently know, right?
Some which you currently know, many which you have not met yet.
From your perspective, maybe I'm trying to feel safe here.
No question about it. And I will concur that, yes, you are trying to feel safe.
Okay.
Now, what does safety mean to you? Does it mean squelching who you are so you won't get hurt? Does vulnerability mean to you weakness? Or does it mean ultimate strength? For vulnerability is complete openness. And with that complete openness expressed to the universe withholds nothing from you. And therefore, ultimate vulnerability is ultimate creatorhood, ability to manifest ability. But if you equate that openness with being able to be injured or punched, that is a definition, and that is the only thing that gives you that effect. So begin to look at your definition of openness. It is completely safe to be who you are, and you can create that it is not. both ideas exist, but you can imbue, embody, choose the idea that you prefer and act according to that idea. If safety winds up equating to paralysis, then safety equals no movement. Safety equals nothing gets done, which in a sense is less safe than doing it.
I guess I feel like I'm advertising, I'm taking people's money. They are.
One moment, you are not taking anyone's money. And even in phrasing it that way, there is an underlying implication. You are providing a service for a fair exchange.
That puts a different light on it.
Nice. Thank you for turning the switch. Will that do for now?
That will do for, yes.
All right. We can share again within this interaction if something else comes up.
Yes, I have a related question about a Mayan influence perhaps in this area.
All right.
So I'd like to follow up later. But thank you very much.
Oh, I thank you. Over there, female.
Elan.
Nice.
Hi.
Greetings.
Great to talk to you again.
Always, you all as well.
I'm kind of like going between the words intention and expectation, and I have a lot of intention, and I think my ego gets in the way, and it calls it expectations or my eagerness. I have the intention of meeting more Zetas, and I believe that a female Zeta came into my house last week. She announced herself as Jebta. My question is, what can I do to make this, to see her again, because I'm very interested, and to make myself available to her?
Understand that the interchange between your two societies is an interchange, is an exchange, is also an exploration. Paradoxically, your strongest way to connect with extraterrestrial symbology is by remaining terrestrial. Is by, in the time where that is not an option, once again, fully being who you choose to be. Getting on with the business of making choices, living those choices, accumulating experience, which is part of the fascination in the exchange itself. It is not individuals who sit around in general, there are exceptions, but in general, that are of interest to them. It is how you live your life, what you do, the effects on your physiology of your attitude, of your creatorhood, how you express yourself. So simply be who you are most fully. Be willing to dive into your daily reality. And then you may sometimes find it will increase the activity in your nightly one.
Thanks. My daily reality and my nightly one seems to be focused on, well, let's just call it the other side.
This is the point. While you are interacting with the other side, that is the time to focus upon it. While you are not, perhaps you can explore and view these ideas, but then once again regrounding yourself to what's right in front of you and acting with your excitement and integrity on those options puts it into action, grounds it into your life. You can think about these things while you are doing those things, but it is the doing and the moving and the creating and the subsequent manifestation and effects that are being viewed anyway.
Hey, Mel, okay. When you're saying that, the confusing point to me is that I'm finding, like, with outer bodies and visiting other beings and human beings and entities, that the two worlds are merging, and so maybe my...
Yes, but this need not take the form, again, of paralysis in the physical world. By grounding what you feel and what you are finding and exploring into this reality, yes, you will begin to break the fine line of distinction between the two realities. And you will literally live the dream, the waking dream of which they are a part. but by remaining grounded and taking the inspiration, the ideas that you derive, and then formulating as to how that assists you in what you're doing, in how you can translate it into action that accelerates the communication and gets their attention, literally.
All right. This being that I call a Heedle, a male being whom I love very much, I'm not sure how to formulate this question. How do I know him so well? Can you give me something on that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Interestingly enough, for very specific reasons, I am not allowed to comment upon this. But note your reaction.
But does he know that? Does he know I love him very much?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, is part and parcel, aside from your own agreement, of what I am speaking about of not allowing it.
Good.
But that is because you have direct access. And it is in that way the removal of power for me to tell you. So it would be a disservice in this case. However, you have a specific relationship, very strongly connected, and you can begin now to trust that without anyone else telling you about it.
Thank you, and I have begun to do that very much because a lot of people have said, don't trust the Zetas, they're only mind controlled by the Zirconians or what, Draconians.
Oh, how fascinating.
You know what, I don't even care if they are. I love this being, and I don't really give a what anybody says. That's how I'm feeling me and the guy is.
The idea is that from our perspective, their minds are not being controlled by another race. No. That is a misconception. Understand 3 people undergoing the exact same interaction with that society will come away with 3 discrete, distinctly different experiences. All the way from one thinking, this is a special, private, wonderful part of my life. I am chosen in this way, to, my God, they're trying to rip my insides out, those bug guys. You will find the wide range of reactions to the very same scenario. All I can communicate to you is my understanding of their intention, which is not to suck anyone's brain.
My whole point is that all of us are part of the big guy, so how can it be bad?
Well, the bottom line is you are all one family. Both the reticulum, your society, and everyone else.
I use the word bad parentheses.
Understood.
2 more questions. One of them is from Bob Worth of Situ in New Jersey. He had a question that involved the word trade. He would like an answer. It's maybe a little bit of a test question because he wanted to find out if you were, and me too maybe in a way, if you were telepathic.
What is the question?
Well, he put it out to the universe. He didn't ask me specifically, and I guess this was something to
All right.
relate the answer.
For a specific reason, my answer will be, I failed the test. Understand, however, the following.
Okay.
A question like that does not take into consideration the mechanism of what you call telepathy, what we call telempathy. Telepathy or telempathy is 2 beings or more vibrating in a similar accord, creating or matching each other's energy to the point where they then, by being so closely identified, create the same thoughts at the same time. It is not a literal reading of someone else's mind. So therefore, it only occurs through the medium of unconditional love and acceptance of the idea that such a thing is possible. Second of all, what you call telepathic communication always takes place along the path of least resistance. He is asking me a question he already knows the answer to. Therefore, there is no need for me to know it. It would be redundant. Now, ironically, I do know it, but I will not share it. To make the point.
Okay, one more. Oh, I love you.
And you as well.
Oh, thank you. One more question. I want to use the word dream, but boy, I don't think it was a dream that I went to another planet like a week and a half ago, and I met a little child there that seemed like my daughter, but she was real skinny and she had big eyes, and I had the feeling that I was going to relocate there or be there.
Well, not for quite some time. But what you experienced was what you generically refer to as an astral experience.
Okay, all right.
So, therefore, quite real in one sense of that word.
All right, in one sense, so that would that eliminate the physical sense of being transported in the physical body to that planet?
It is not the timing for that, and that is, shall we say, a future that will, in that sense, depend upon what you are exploring in your present very strongly with the reticulum.
Okay, would that future be within the parameters of my earthly life? Number one.
Also, yes. For there will be more blatant, open interaction in your earth future as well. So, yes.
Okay, so...
And you will find beings similar to the reticulum and similar to us as well as from time to time cohabitating upon your planet when such a thing is possible and available through your society's allowance. But there is another connection as well, which I will allow you to explore.
All right. May I explore it now?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Does that have to... I don't buy into this Armageddon theory of the Earth exploding and you know, it not necessarily has to happen and that we're going to get lifted off with spaceships. I think that really that we have the possibility of healing our own planet.
By the way, that is our perspective. That what you are speaking of as Armageddon was simply an interpretive prediction made in a time whereby that was the only way that change could be understood. But collectively, your mass consciousness has made the agreement not to annihilate yourself by nuclear means, so therefore the annihilation of the planet, perhaps you can say, is no longer an issue.
That's terrific.
Well, we think so. Makes it a bit safer to hang around.
Because, you know,
Pun intended.
I like that pun. Because I hear a lot from different people that, oh, well, we're going to all be lifted off.
What you are getting is an interpretation of the physical, literal upliftment of your vibration as you expand into your totality. This literally creates an upliftment, literally increases your vibratory reality, your perception, your frequency, and therefore who and what others you are able to interact with that now exist on that frequency. It is a metaphor for meeting us halfway, uplifting your energy, uplifting your definition of self, your vibratory awareness to a point where we can perceive each other physically. It is not literally meant in the sense of being physically uplifted. That would assume that you are inherently helpless and need to be saved from an external source, which is not at all accurate. It is simply one exploration of what you sometimes call victimhood and saviorhood.
Okay. No, I don't buy into that either. I go for personal accountability. Bob Worth also said from his research that the Zetas, on a scale of 1 to 10, the Zetas were a 7 or 8, and humans were a number 2.
No. You are both third, transitional, fourth density beings at a very similar place, though their technology may seem to reflect in that sense, shall we say, a bit of an advancement to your own. That is simply what they emphasized in. You emphasized in explorations more of consciousness, relationship, and individuality. You are as expert in that as they are in the technological end. You are equal.
Yes. Now, when I'm flipping around here, it doesn't have anything to do with anything else, but the other night when I was asleep, I heard clicking and like a motor sound. Is that the sound of your ship?
No. Our ships are, for the most part, silent.
Do you know what that was?
Did that precede what you call the astral experience?
Yes.
Very often you will have a certain type of auditory clicking, sometimes a ringing, sometimes a humming,
Yes.
prior or during to what you call an astral experience.
Okay.
That is our strongest perception.
Elan, thank you very much, and please send my love to Jepta or Gepta.
Already received, you have a direct line.
I really hope we meet very soon.
All right, need not hope.
My intention.
Thank you. Simply intend. Hope implies it would take a miracle, and it would not.
Yeah, mea culpa, Elan.
Shutting.
Elan,
Ice.
I would just like to share a couple really interesting to me realizations I had this week.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And the first one was I was talking to a Vietnam vet, and I was over his house, and it was like all of a sudden I had the realization of the war and just how those souls came in, choose to come in and be a part of the war, and how the protesters' part was to take away the glory of honor and honor of war so people could see war for the reality that it is. And how by the participation of both parties in it, there will never be another war like that again. We can't have war because the reality is surface.
Well, what you also have conveniently, and again, all the timings of the arrivals of these things are perfect to your state of consciousness, is what you call a far-reaching multimedia. So therefore, shall we say fairly quickly, many people on the planet know what is going on. Even back in that particular era, there was a lag between an event and the knowledge and interpretation of that event. You now have what you colloquially refer to as live television right there watching the bombs come in that particular example. So therefore, individuals' consciousness and their reaction and their opinion about what is happening is immediately forthcoming in large numbers. And you will also find there will begin to be the emergence of what you call a style of peace movement, whereby the emphasis is not the hating of war, but the loving of peace, the embodying of peace. The hating of war is becoming the vibration of hate, which is the vibration of war. It is matching that same vibration. The loving of peace is embodied through action, through showing the peaceful alternative in every given situation. And thus will you find individuals beginning to congregate as a cohesive group with that particular perspective. Peace of mind, peace of body.
One thing that to me seemed, and I don't know why, for me, it just seemed so important, was that having the denial of the glory and honor of war taken away really brought the reality of the insanity of war.
To some degree, yes.
Consciousness. And then it later on this week I started getting that how we're having our denial systems broken into that
Nice.
All like major secrets, everything that's been taboo, incest, alcoholism, drugs.
All bubbling up to the surface.
Like
Nice.
there are no secrets. And it was like so wonderful to see that everything that we tried to, I don't know, it's just like there's such a different reality occurring.
Nice. And it is very exciting. For again, denial fills the subconscious closet of each individual. Acknowledgement allows it to empty. And when you, in that sense, own what you believe and allow yourself to deliver to yourself the things that you believe that you do not prefer and transform them, thus again, you are in the frontier. You are a living example of this, and then get that effect and attract other individuals that also do, thereby building up a bubble which grows, expands until it encompasses your entire planet and everyone that's in it. Therefore, again, the loving of peace takes the form of being willing to demonstrate how in any given situation, anything, there is a peaceful alternative. Fighting fire with fire makes things get very hot. Allowing the fire to be one representation and representing the preferred reality cools it down and allows the third person viewing both to have a choice and see that both work. Fighting fire with fire does not literally ultimately work anyway, for the individuals will in general reincarnate and come back and get you anyway. On some level. Is that all?
I was just wondering, I know my lesson has been in deserving to know who I am.
Well, one of them, yes.
I was just wondering how these realizations tie in. It's just so important.
You simply deserve to feel the way that you feel about these issues, including war and peace. And now you are beginning to act that way by being willing to express it. I deserve to feel this, therefore others deserve to at least be aware of it in a non-insistive way. And to you as well. At this timing, we will pause for a short break of 10 to 15 of your minutes of counting, at which time we will resume contact and perhaps reach an agreement about the subject for the next interaction. All right, I'll say, continue sharing.
Elan, is Bashar with you on the ship right now?
Not exactly.
Was he in the opening statement?
No. However, you may understand this to be, in a sense, an anniversary of sorts. For, shall we say, Andrew's first experience of our energy was this day in your 1990 year.
Oh.
So therefore, there was, in a sense, a little poking in of the head. A little, in that sense, of a hello, of an acknowledgement. At the same time, allowing you to know in no uncertain terms that he is all well and good. But for the purposes of these ongoing interactions, perhaps you can say that particular occurrence will be few and far between. For the actual purposes involve my direct interaction, my direct involvement.
Well, to you and to him, we send our love.
Oh, thank you. And it is received. Do understand, for the time being, for specific reasons of alignment, there is still a peripheral, perhaps you can say, involvement of Bashar in these interactions. So therefore, the information that is shared is able to be accessed by him at will.
Could we ever have an evening, do you suppose, when members from other planets or other galaxies or whatever could come through Andrew and talk to us and we could ask them questions?
Maybe. It is not out of the question by any means.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sharing.
Hello.
Ice.
Hi.
Greetings. And good day.
We had an interaction here last Saturday, and we had a meditation we were doing. During the meditation, I felt a touch at my back. You know who it was?
There is a piece of information that is missing. Who do you believe that it was?
Anima.
Why are you asking?
Just checking.
Ah, all right. Fair enough. Accurate perception. But only in an etheric sense, not a literal physical touch.
But I understand that, but I didn't feel it. Because when we were talking later on, I realized that that's who it was. I do have another question though.
All right.
You know what's going on with Cooper? He's been attacking people.
In a sense. All right. Perhaps you are ready to hear this. It is a reflection of some, shall we say, pent-up frustration within you. Now, that is one particular, perhaps you can say, abrupt outlet for it, which you perhaps are not directly choosing, but you are still reflecting back to yourself on no uncertain terms that that type of behavior is an option.
I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elan?
Ice.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
My love also to Bashar.
And to you as well.
As that question was just asked, I just got taken by surprise, and in my heart I felt touched, and I want to ask for some kind of contact with Shira. I have no idea what I'm asking for here.
Well, the bottom line is you are asking for contact from something which you are never disconnected from. So perhaps the point is this. Close your eyes. In no uncertain terms, you are in touch with an entity. For the purposes of identification, the entity is, for the time being, from our civilization. Allow yourself, at whatever rate is comfortable for you, to receive a message and then render it, speak it so that all may share. And trust what comes out. Do not judge it, do not think about it, simply render it.
I am with you, my adored friend. The connection of light is ongoing between us. And the love radiates to all who are present. I'm getting something about a library. I don't know what that is. I'm seeing blue lights.
Now, you do know what it is. Simply allow it through. What are you receiving about the library?
Something about going to a library.
Of what type?
I don't know. The Akashic records are coming.
Well, to some degree. This will also relate to what you sometimes call ideas that are within you. Being able to view them. Being able to, in that sense, look at those books. But only checking out the ones that are representative of who you are. Understanding that you are the library itself. That there is nothing outside of yourself. Therefore, it is not a matter of this does not exist. If you are aware of it, yes, it does. But the point is it need not have an effect on you. And only has an effect on you by your involvement, your participation. So therefore, you can read any of the books that you wish. No matter whether they are integrated or disintegrated or whatever. But it is the ones that you check out. It is the ones that you adopt and then perform the actions of that are your life.
Yes, and along with that, I'm hearing the reminder of that I create my own reality and to become more clear on the reality I want to create.
That sounds like a Essassani being. Is there anything else?
I'm getting in the way because I want to ask her questions. I'm in the way a little bit.
Well, all right. You are not in the way, but we understand what you mean. Understand what you are demonstrating to all that are present. Our stream of energy is very accessible, as I and Bashar have always shared. And it is not a matter of that we are not there, so to speak. It is a matter of your willingness to take what you get from us and put it into action. And as you do put it into action, you create the vibration which is akin to our vibration. Makes it then that much more easy or effortless for us to then again interact with you. For you are now becoming a vibration that we can find and that is close enough to your own for you to make sense of. You all have this ability. There are many of us, aside from myself, but also including myself, who are willing to interact with all of you directly. And it is simply a matter of understanding that any information that comes from us will always be completely self-empowering. Will never carry with it that it is something that you should do as being better than what you are doing, simply an alternative. and will never come in the form of a judgment of what you had done. Well, you really blew that, is not us. That is you. We never say that. Perhaps we say, how fascinating. I never would have done that myself, but how fascinating no less. But never will we say, all right, you idiot. It is simply not our style. So you can begin to discern what is from our stream with these simple guidelines. And you all have this ability. Again, this individual has synchronistically chosen to show you how simple it is, not to in any way minimize what she has done, for she has just that, done it, been willing to midwife it, been willing to make a statement according to it. And it is a reflection to you all that you contain that conviction. You contain that boldness. You contain that ability to express that energy within you in whatever way you wish. Is that all?
Interesting you use the word midwife, because I had this flash a couple days ago wondering if Shira had any children, or then I had a flash that she was pregnant, and I don't think that's the case. And I do want to ask that.
In a sense, again, it is allegorical.
Okay.
You are birthing forth new ideas, recreating, rebirthing, so to speak, yourself, as each and every one of you do in each and every moment. You recreate who you are, recreate who you are. You do so with a bit of what you call continuity, so it seems to be a continuum, but it is actually distinct and discrete recreations in the moment. You flash each moment.
I feel that I live that library in my sessions and more in the rest of my life.
Ah, ace.
I want to live it totally in the rest of my life.
Well, go right ahead, for there are no fines or overdue books in this library.
But it's opening up so much more. It's wondrous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your expression of it.
She is not in a relationship that's ongoing.
In the way that you mean at this time, perhaps not. But relationships are always synchronistically attracted with no expectation, thereby no disappointing, and simply the perfect timing of the knowledge that if something comes, that is the timing. And that what a relationship is the point. Not what it should be, what I wish it was, what it is. And allowing relationships to be what they are and deliver the message that they are created for. Deliver the message of the exploration of the co-creation.
And one more question. What is Shira's relationship to Bashar, to Elan, and to Jim's future self?
Perhaps what you are asking is friends. The idea is that they are not related by what you sometimes refer to as blood.
And colleagues.
Yes. All of us are colleagues. Literally, the entire society feels this interconnected affection for each other. Individuals who are exploring things vastly different from other individuals may rarely meet, for there is no commonality. But never are we out of touch, and never do we lose that connection. And never is there, shall we say, an emphasis on one relationship as being more. It simply is more of what it is, but not more in quality-wise than any other relationship. There is simply the complete and utter unconditional love and respect for all individuals and what they are exploring.
I feel your presence so much more. It's amazing.
Do you know why? Because you are beginning to be the same way, or a similar way, shall I say, that we choose to be. Hence, now that you are, again, of a closer vibration to our approach, we can find each other. We can revel in each other. We can share more blatantly, more extensively. And this occurs with each individual as you begin to explore this.
Thank you.
Oh, thank yourself.
Elan,
Yes.
can I ask another question?
You can ask.
I just realized that I'm going to be on television on Thursday. I forgot.
Well, how exciting.
I know. I totally forgot. They there's an interview show in local cable that's going to interview me as a healer. And I haven't even thought about it. Someone just asked me last night, and all of a sudden, just sitting here, I said, I don't know what I'm going to say, and I started to contract with fear.
Question.
What?
Do you feel that your particular style of healing has something unique about it?
Yes.
Ah, there is your emphasis. There is the point.
Okay.
To express to others in a format that you create, not that what you have is valuable, that is taken for granted, but what is unique about the value of it.
Okay, because, all right.
And why it is empowering.
Okay, because my emphasis on is having the person heal themselves.
All right. Then you will be allowing individuals to be privy to the actual mechanism anyway.
Uh-huh. So is there a synchronistic reason that that's just popping up since I've moved back to Connecticut?
Oh, absolutely none. Now, what do you think? Obviously, yes.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, there is a discrete reason, and obviously, the timing has a particular significance and advantage.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, take the opportunity to express who you are and the uniqueness about what you have to offer. And then you will be, in sending out that beacon, attracting individuals who would distinctly have the advantage of your particular unique approach, which are the individuals that you will work, shall we say, most effectively with to begin with.
So can I invite Aliota?
Up to you. Use your imagination. Trust it. However you wish to proceed. But if you do, at least say a few of your own words as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But just that, the spontaneity, being spontaneous with that energy.
Sure, as you said.
Okay, that was it. I just remembered that. Thanks.
All right.
Elan,
Yes.
good evening.
And to you, good day.
I have a couple of questions for you, or sharing of information, an exchange of consciousness. One of the things I've been...
By the way, before you proceed, to the individual over here requesting other extraterrestrial consciousness, you may also understand from time to time that they will arise through others as well. So you can widen your expectancy and vision. Do proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. You caught me there for a minute, but I wanted to ask you about a situation that occurred a few months back, and I don't recall asking you this question, so it feels like the very first time I've asked it again. I had a situation where I had been up late at night, and I had been very at calm peacefulness watching TV. And the next thing I know, I hear all this rattling going on outside the house. And the next thing that happens is I hear shovels and things being moved around. And I'm saying, what's going on here, you know? And I just booked out of the room, left the TV on, left the lights on, and just booked upstairs because I didn't know what I was dealing with. And I went out the next day to look on the side, and on the paint was these seemed to be human fingerprints, but the weird thing is one of the prints looked like a claw and the rest looked like regular human fingers, imprinted with dirt, trying to get through the wall. Could you expand on that as to what was going on at that point? Because we do have a vortex right on the side of the house at that point.
No.
No. That's one word.
Ice. Very perceptive. Says a lot.
It says a lot, but not much.
It says exactly what I wish to communicate.
I feel...
What is your perception?
My perception is I was testing my own maybe fear, or my own experimentation with fear, or an extension of my own being coming from another parallel reality trying to come to me. But I thought it was somewhat very, it was definitely physical.
What was the size of what you call the print?
The print, the size of the print. It was the size of a hand.
A adult hand, a child's hand?
That would be hard to decipher. It was like I said, part of the finger looked like they were either a claw, or they tried to trick me into believing that one of the fingers was a claw and the rest were just fingers.
Oh.
And I thought they were playing games with me.
Well, in a very literal sense, yes. The question that I will leave to you is, who are they? Are they extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional consciousness, or rambunctious neighbors?
Not neighbors, because that is clearly something that I clearly looked at within myself, and I clearly came out with the bold answer that was not neighbors at all, not at 1 a.m. Specifically, in the 15 years I've been up in that area, that's never happened before.
Oh, how exciting.
It's exciting, but it's also interesting to find out. I have been going within to try to find out who or what was there, and I still have no answers as to the physical being that was there, or if there were more than one.
Well, all right.
But you won't give me any specific answer on that.
No, not at this time.
Will you at some point?
That will depend upon your level of willingness to involve yourself in the process. It is possible, however, not this evening.
Right, because I can involve myself in the process right now.
Then continue to do some research.
Okay.
Come up with, shall we say, some likely ideas. Present them later on as bold convictions, and then perhaps we can discuss them from that perspective.
Okay, well, the print is still there after about 3 months' time, which is quite amazing to me.
All right.
What I want to ask is that I have the intention at this point of taking the TV show nationwide, and I made a decision that I've gotten in touch with one of the major cable networks, and they seem to be somewhat interested in me sending them a demo tape. But I also want the intention to be clear that the integrity of the program is not stolen by a conglomerate, that the idea is not taken from what is already being produced, and they steal the idea, and therefore I end up with nothing.
Why do you contain such a fear and believe that something which you do not prefer and would not be a representation of who you choose to be is most likely?
Well, I don't believe it's most likely. I believe that on Earth-based realities, you have to have contracts, and contracts are for the agreement of another to agree to a contract where there's an equal understanding of what is involved when you go through the process of doing something like this.
Do you not have what you call upon your planet in the form of, perhaps you can say, unwritten contractual agreement, what you call copyright?
Right.
Therefore, simply follow your own system. Display that in a prominent area. Allow, with your intention of proceeding with integrity, it to simply be put out, and trust what you get.
And finally, I'm feeling in a partying mood a lot. With the TV show, I had my first get-together last night with some people at the house, and I plan to do this on a regular basis now because I feel excitement towards that, to integrating more people and bringing more people together in that level. And that's something I never felt really that way before. I mean, I always like to socialize, but in that kind of sense, do you see the show itself going beyond just where we are now in terms of exploring just cable access?
Well, absolutely. If you desire it, and as you have said, maintain the integrity of what you are doing and continue to act where available. That will be key. Do not wait around for others to do it for you. That will not occur.
Well, I'm doing it myself. I'm taking on the initiative. Finally, I saw a video that very much excited me, called Alternative 3. I don't know if you're familiar with the video.
We understand, shall we say, that particular perspective and are not in alignment with it.
Okay.
It is not our understanding, and it is our particular interpretation that much of that is what you would sometimes call from the perspective of paranoia and mis and disinformation.
Okay, and I could agree that some of it might be that way. But there are portions that show NASA film footage of astronauts going to Mars and to
That is not exactly what that is.
is that Hollywoodish made up simulation?
Regardless of the source, it is not what it claims to be from our perspective. You do not have at this time humans upon Mars, no.
Okay, then was it fake?
It is the product of mis and disinformation.
Okay, you want to expand on that?
Well, that is in a sense an expansion. Take it for what I am saying.
I'm taking that at the face value of what you're saying, but I'm still intrigued by the picture of these astronauts interacting with supposedly NASA control and seeing a life form moving in the dirt on Mars. You're saying we never got to Mars, but
Not yet. In this particular dimensional reality, it is something that you are beginning to approach.
Okay, then what were we seeing on the video?
Again, my understanding is that it was fabricated, but to that extent, that is all I am getting.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Elan.
And to you as well. Before we proceed, allow us to simply share, though we will choose the title at that time, that next month's interaction will revolve around the subject of polarity, which can be interpreted as positive, negative, male, female. There are many nuances of this. We will, however, refrain from the actual entitlement at this time. That will be the subject.
Thank you.
Shutting. Ace, male.
Elan, this is around, I guess, expectation. And I've been exploring some of the negative effects of having an expectation unfulfilled.
By the way, have you also explored the positive effects of having, as you say, an expectation unfulfilled? For there are both effects from that scenario, depending upon how you interpret it.
I have explored the positive in the sense of what it has allowed me to explore. And there's a lot of benefit for me on that side. But briefly, the expectation was around some kind of, in doing the cable broadcast show, I didn't realize at the time, but later after it was done, I realized I had an expectation of reward or acknowledgement on your part for, that was a good job, you've done something of value for us.
Well, all right. That was a good job. You have, in that sense, created something. Are you bowing?
I'm blushing it.
Oh. You need simply ask. But the point is that perhaps one way to put it is none of you fully realize the impact of what you have created. It is at this time in many points around your globe. It has a proliferative effect that is not necessarily yet measurable. Perhaps in this instance, I will simply say, take my word for it.
On the exploring...
One moment, is that resolved?
Well, it is in the sense that I do register acknowledgement, but I do want to continue with what I've explored through this from my...
Oh.
And that is the sense of this continual search I seem to have for validating myself from sources outside of me.
Well, all right. That can be a tedious search until you are willing to validate yourself. Then you will see the reflections. But validating yourself, if you truly do it, is not performing a ritual and then expecting an outer reflection to make sure that it is true. It is an inner resolve that cannot be moved from an external circumstance. And once that is the degree of your resolve of validation, you cannot help, perhaps you can say in that sense, to then have a blatant external representation or reinforcement of that internal decision. So, to what degree are you using waiting for an external validation to invalidate your internal validation?
Well, what I've utilized is the pain of feeling myself invalidated or judging myself to be so. And finding through that a source of this anger that would rise, that would say to me, yes, I am, and yes, I am valid, and yes, I do count for something. And it leading me to a place inside of me where I can find my own validation, that I know that I count for something.
So that anger then allows you to align to your clear intention.
Yes.
And if you do not allow it to, perhaps you can say, devolve into judgment and invalidation, it is a useful tool.
Yes.
Therefore, what you have shared with me is that you can use your anger to align rather than malign.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And it's my experience has been that I have really felt in connection with this sense of my own validation of myself, that I have that source. And then in another moment, I will find myself at the beginning of the loop again.
Well, in a sense, if you feel that someone is quote unquote attempting to invalidate you from an external source, only do you feel that when you match it. So in the moment that you feel it, you are buying into what they are saying. And this piece of useful information can simply be the opportunity to realize that while it is happening, not an invitation to judge yourself for then doing that.
Well, I find all these sources of my invalidating myself, where in the course of my work, if I get it right, it's the expected thing. If I get it wrong, that's bad. And so my motivation for doing things becomes very muted. It's like lose-lose. If I really move through and do what I expect myself to do, I mean, that is one belief system I've sort of uncovered for myself in this last week. How much I diminished my life and my experience of it in the moment by expectations of this nature.
Expectations that others will what?
Expectations myself, that I need to perform to a certain level, or I have all these criteria about what I should do. Me, not anybody else, but myself.
If you do not fulfill these expectations, do you then withdraw self-love?
Absolutely.
Why?
It seems to be the strategy I've grown up with.
Well, all right. Understanding that it is a strategy, which is the purposeful application of a particular approach, are you now willing to replace, not get rid of, nowhere to put it, you're everything, but replace that approach with something else? Perhaps saying, all right now, I am invalidating myself. I do not feel I am living up to my expectations, but I still love myself. And refuse to withdraw that self-love no matter what. Perhaps I will, shall I say, fall short of my goals on purpose to practice this self-love.
That's interesting.
Well, that would be interesting.
It already is.
Yes. I have one other question regarding...
Before you move on,
Yes.
the point is, it's all right.
Yes.
As you say in your colloquial slang, big deal, so you messed up. Is that truly worth the removal of your self-love, of your unconditional love? The moment you impose one condition, in that moment, you are not unconditionally loving yourself.
Sometimes this is so clear to me, and I feel my sense of being in my preferential, referential me, that's me. I experience this is my reality. And then in another moment, I'm out of that.
All right. Where are you in that moment? For when everything is easy, it's no big deal to have this information at your disposal. But where do you feel you go?
To my past, or to another way of operating, another software package.
Which also has a result no less real than the preferred result. Correct?
Yes.
So you then understand, once again, both ideas exist within you. Then simply it becomes a matter of, rather than assuming the lot in life of ending up with this automatic behavior, choosing between them. And allowing, when the non-preferred one comes up, to at least let it stand out in relief to the preferred one. That is where the referential, preferential you comes in most handy. Do you apply that in those situations? And if not, are you willing to begin to do so?
I do apply it many times.
All right, but what about the times you don't? This is what we are talking about.
Well, the times that I don't, I am willing to apply it.
Has it ever failed you when you've applied it?
Not yet.
All right, as you say, be on your way. You're all set. You have all the tools. You don't need me.
Well, I thank you for all the assistance you've provided me.
I thank
A
you.
little lunch bucket packed here.
Oh, all right. You may remain if you wish. But the idea is, I thank you, for you allow me to clarify my thinking, clarify my ideas, and allow and enable and facilitate these interactions to cause more of a commonality to allow us to communicate with you and your society. Thank you.
Elan.
One moment. Is that all?
That's all.
Before you, over here, is there a question about buying into the invalidations of others?
Yes.
What is it?
What I wanted you to do was repeat what you had said
Oh.
about that.
Someone comes along, you are standing there being who you are, and they invalidate you. Well, you stink, they say. All right. One of two scenarios. You know you do not stink, you have just taken a shower. Therefore, they must be talking to the wrong person. No charge. Other approach, well, maybe I do stink. Then you feel it. You do not feel the invalidations of another until you buy into it on some level. Now, you need not then go invalidating yourself for having invalidated yourself. That compounds the situation. It allows you to draw attention to the fact that, wait a moment, I'm agreeing with him. I feel that I am. Let me look at where I might still be that way and have the clear intention to not be that way again. You can use everything, including a perceived invalidation. When, again, you emotionally attach to it, on some level, you are exploring agreement with it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Did that clarify the issue?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Back there, male.
Yes. Hello, Elan.
Greetings.
We met a couple of months ago in a very colorful tent on the other side of the world.
Ace, that was one time.
I'd like to ask you a very heavy question.
All right. How much does it weigh?
Using the word reality, we've been working with this word reality now for many years. From your perspective, from where you are, what is third dimensional reality?
Third dimensional or density reality is the exploration of physicality, of solidifying or densifying the energy of your consciousness into what you call physical vessel, thereby then exploring the world or a reality or a world as if within it. Certain definitions of your form of third density reality will have the concentration of the energy of your consciousness be so compact, so dense, that you literally feel separated or coagulated out of the rest of reality, so that you can experience disconnection from your total connection to everything. That is a very unique point of view to create. It allows you to explore certain things that you cannot explore when you are all-knowing and all-seeing. For when you know it all, what is not available to explore is discovery. What is not available to explore is surprise. What is not available to explore is learning. And mostly what is not available to explore is experiencing anything as anew or fresh. For when you are all-knowing, it all exists within you, and there is no more emphasis on one idea than another. So it is very largely the exploration of limitation and separation itself, disconnection itself on the one hand, but on the other hand, discovery, the joy of discovery, the joy of expansion, of learning, of becoming less dense, and again, perhaps you can say expanding into more, quote unquote, of your totality. This is the third level of what you would call physical existence. What you would call first density would roughly, in your reality, correspond to what you call mineral consciousness. Rocks and so forth actually are a very, very, very dense form of consciousness itself. For again, all reality is simply versions or aspects or frequencies of energy, that being in your reality the most dense. As you begin to expand that consciousness but still have it be quite dense, in your reality, as an example, you have what you call vegetable consciousness, animal consciousness. This would roughly correspond to what you might call second density, more aware, more expanded than what you would call perhaps a rock, but still not looking at, perhaps you can say, the aspect of self-reflection. That is, shall we say, brought into play by third density, which is the reality that you are exploring. Still fresh out of complete separation and limitation, but beginning now to have the ability to self-reflect in a way to begin to view your relationship, so to speak, to everything else. As you, in that sense, progress, so to speak, into fourth density, that is a more expanded, less dense reality that is still physical, but now beginning to explore the ideas of limitlessness, now beginning to reaffirm the connections. For when you become first, second, and third density, you are no less connected to everything. Simply in third, you create an apparency of being less connected. In fourth, and shall we say, the quote-unquote end of third transitional fourth, you begin to look at the ideas that such things are possible, that maybe you just are multi-dimensional, maybe you just are infinite, maybe you just are eternal. And as you begin to live and express your physicality, still being physical through this knowingness now rather than assumption, you begin to purposefully live, purposely create. This is the definition of fourth density reality. At some point within fourth density, perhaps you can say, and this is quite colloquial, you in the sense have done it all, have felt that you have in that sense created what you have quote unquote come to create, so to speak, in physical reality, and then in general, again, loosely speaking, progress, for that is a very arbitrary term, to fifth density, which is the first non-physical density of existence, but still in some sense is more densified than, shall we say, higher, more expanded, more encompassing levels of consciousness. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Or simply create a new set of questions?
Very well.
All right.
May I
That is
follow up?
one way to look at it. Please do.
At what density do we become a point of light?
Well, in a sense, when you enter, shall we say, non-physicality, your identification of yourself as light will be more blatant. So perhaps you can say it begins when you become non-physical. But to some degree, when you are within what you sometimes call fourth density, you will express lighter aspects through the physical structure and begin to, perhaps you can say, colloquially speaking, exhibit a form of light body. Still implying body, still implying densification of energy that is not infinite, but no less still beginning now to emanate the source of energy which you use to create yourself to begin with. Did that translate?
About 80%, but I'll.
All right. Fifth density. You begin to perceive yourself as light itself.
Is the causal body, as we say causal body, is that light?
Well, in a sense, yes. But even the word body is a construct, yes. You are picturing a contained form of light, a point, as you have said, of light. It is in generally more expressed as an infinite light. Well, different, but qualitatively equal.
I have no place to go from here. Thank you very much.
You have plenty of places to go from here. Simply have a good trip.
Elan,
Nice.
to follow up on Rick's question, when one moves from the third to the fourth density, and from the fourth to the fifth and sixth and so on, does that person have the capacity to manifest at any density that he's already previously experienced?
To some degree, yes, but you will only do so in what you would perceive from this reality to be a fleeting fashion.
I see, somewhat of a dreamlike thing.
In a sense, more solid than that, choosing to simply have that experience.
Right, more specifically, if someone's on the 5th density and wants to present themselves in an understandable fashion to someone on the 4th density, is that easier than taking the step down all the way to the 3rd density?
In a sense, but it can still be done. There is more commonality to, shall we say, the immediately adjoining densities. And as you move colloquially farther and farther away from the density that you are at, there is less and less commonality to be able to share a common experience. So yes.
Well, does one moving from the 3rd to the 4th density imply that they have an inherent understanding of the physics and the physics of manifestation on the 3rd density? In other words, is the understanding of the density your...
Foundationally, yes.
Okay. So that there would then...
That does not mean you need to do so in book form or in particular rigid forms. This can simply be a knowingness that transcends analytical knowledge.
I understand. Then at what point of... At what point of or what density of beingness then would one have the capacity to manifest at will in any density?
Well, understand that you have the capacity right now. In 4th density, you are more apt in that sense to display the capacity.
In the 3rd, but wouldn't a 4th density being have difficulty manifesting in the 5th and 6th density?
Well, in general, because of the choice of progression in that order, we'll simply not do so and simply go in order, so to speak. Again, this is quite colloquial.
I'm presently reading a series of books called The Master of Strogolos. It's about a master in Cyprus and his disciples who are basically Christian mystics. He has manifested, according to this sociologist's report, as having the ability of materializing and dematerializing things. For instance, he dematerialized a diseased spine and through the power of thought, rematerialized a healthy spine inside an individual.
Not really.
Not really.
No. The individual did it to themselves, allowing him to provide an elaborate symbol.
By agreement.
Nice.
Okay. Well, he made a point. He was very definite on this point that in terms of astral travel, if you will, or he calls it exomatosis, out of body travel, that there is a silver cord connecting the being to the physical body. Number one question, is there such a cord?
Once again, the silver cord is a metaphor of the connection and will often be perceived in that way.
I see.
All right. There you go.
He went on to say, Elan,
Apparently, her cord is a little bit, shall we say, valuable than yours.
but not necessarily more functional.
Just a joke.
He then went on to stress the point that the silver cord was capable of expanding to 7 times the perimeter of the Earth. However, if one were to travel beyond that point...
By the way, this is now beginning to sound more like an anchor than a cord.
Exactly. My question is...
That is one particular way to create it, not the only way. There is no limit to the distance that you can travel in the astral state.
Excellent, because he went on to say that if you went beyond that point, the silver cord would snap, the material body would die, and while it's possible for beings to travel at great distances beyond that distance, only the more evolved masters can do that.
The boundary is set by the individual.
This is all belief system.
Nice. So that could have been that individual's experience, but they are the appointers of the boundary.
And are we of the 3rd density evolving in the sense that we came up from the 2nd density, now we're in the 3rd, we're going to move on to the 4th? Or is it that we have experienced lifetimes on many different densities, and this is just the choice for this lifetime?
It is both. It depends from which point of view you are looking at it. From your totality, choice B. From your linear reality, it would seem to be choice A.
I see. So from a linear point of view, we are actually having experiences, learning from them.
Nice, but not necessarily in the aforementioned order. I use as an example, in your third dimensional perceptive reality, first density as being mineral and second as being animal, for that is an analog. But those are not the only expressions of first and second density. So it is not literally that you capitulate through necessarily those particular forms on your planet. They are part and parcel of your experience as a third density being existing within you as expressions of those other, perhaps lower densities.
I understand, but from a linear point of view, we actually are having experiences from which we learn that allow us to go on to have other experiences. Even though simultaneously we exist in many dimensions.
That is one point of view. Another, perhaps more accurate way, is in saying, and not in any way in the invalidational sense, that it is a grand game that you play as a consciousness.
I understand, but as all games, one must learn the rules and one must develop certain skill.
Well, one makes the rules and then lives by those rules. There are no, that's the way it is, rules of the game. No. You can either pass go and collect $200 or not.
But does it apply in our third density experience that there is a learning process going on?
That is one way to perceive it. Another way to perceive it is that you are just simply beginning now to allow yourself to access or remember what you already know. From, perhaps you can say, the first, second density perspective, what you are saying would be the accurate perception. Looking back, so to speak, from the fourth, fifth, it would be more what I am saying.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Elan.
Ace, female, then you.
Me.
Ace.
Hi again.
Greetings for the first time.
Thanks. Elaborating on that question of densities, when I reach the 7 billion density, will I lose my ability to reflect upon myself?
Do you wish to?
I'll think on that.
Well, all right. That is the answer. It is up to you. Never do you expand beyond the point that you are comfortable. No.
Okay, but I was thinking of ego in relation to an earth plane. Separation, abandonment, that's why I'm here.
You are, shall we say, most apt to integrate that in this life. It will not take 7 billion lives to do that. You are beginning to look at this right now.
Yeah.
Abandonment is the idea that you are not already in and of yourself complete, and that something can leave you incomplete. But now that you understand this, now that you are beginning to introduce this to yourself, simple reminders of your completeness can simply cancel out the emotional effect of that issue, and then simply have you deciding that you will not treat someone else in that way. That is how you apply it.
Okay. How about in relation to, I'm thinking now in terms of, I am a point of light, which is an inseparable point of what I call the big guy, and
Slash girl.
well, GUI, yeah, guy, girl, right. So how does that, if I reach the 7 billionth density, will I still be able, will I still have the ability to reflect upon myself, or will I just
Once
melt
again,
into the lake?
do you wish to have that ability then? Yes or no? You only will explore, perhaps you can say, from this point forward, the things that you will choose to explore. You will always, at the same time, and this is a paradox, contain it all, but always seem to be expanding and growing and attracting. There will never be a point at which you will be absorbed and lose your individuality unless you desire to. And it will always seem from your point of view that everything else is merging into you. However, the paradox is this is true for every other person present.
Yes.
Each will experience the reality becoming one with them. And you do not lose the you-ness unless you choose to. That is also an exploration.
Well, does that ever happen? Are new beings constantly being created so that perfection will never be reached, so we all grow?
No. Perfection is ever constant. You are always perfect. You are always a perfect reflection of whatever within the multiplicity of reality you are choosing to explore. A perfect expression. So perfection is not attained. It is simply realized. It is simply already existing. Even if you are completely miserable, you are perfectly miserable. It is a perfect creation of misery. I say this to lighten things up, but the idea is that you are always a perfect reflection.
That's a tool. Perfection is a tool.
Perfection is a given. Perfection is the state of reality. Everything is a perfect whatever it is.
Right.
If you are exploring limitation, that is not imperfection. It is the perfect exploration of limitation. Do you understand the distinction? It is quite important.
Yes.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, and where are you, Elan? Or when you reflect upon yourself, where are you in perfection?
In ecstasy. For I always am. It is what I choose to explore. I choose to explore being excited, creating a scenario, acting on that excitement, getting the effect. Unendingly. No pauses. Always on and on and on. Therefore, I am forever ecstatic. And that is, as a reflection, another available option to you all. Or you would not be able to understand when I speak about it, a word of it.
Okay. Where is hope in all that? Where is the hope in your vocabulary?
It is not in my vocabulary.
Oh.
The idea is that I am always being, intending. I never hope, for I always know whatever I intend will manifest. So there is nothing to hope for. I simply define what it is I choose to experience, intend that happen, look for the vehicle to begin doing so. If it is there, I do that. If not, I do from what is available. Exactly what I have been sharing with you all. This is how we live.
I always thought it was a Christian concept. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Elan?
Ace.
I'd like to know if every consciousness goes through physicality.
Not necessarily. It is a choice. It is an option. Is there something unsettling about that? All right.
I'm just curious.
Many who do not choose to. And again, perhaps this is a translation, but we'll have great admiration for those of you that do. It takes, in one sense of the word, a style of courage and conviction to explore this. To explore cutting off, seemingly, your connection to all that is. It is never cut off, by the way, for 1 second. But you create the perception that such a thing is possible. And when you act that way, you create the effects of it seeming like you are disconnected. But in that sense, when you begin to realize the connection, part and parcel of that realization is the fact that you never were disconnected to begin with.
Okay, I'd also like to know, does consciousness come from energy?
Perhaps you can say energy comes from consciousness. Energy is an expression of consciousness. Consciousness is the source, the prime source.
Is all energy consciousness?
Yes. One or another form of it. One or another densification, so to speak, of it, yes. And the ultimate prime energy of creation is what you will call the white light of infinite creation. But this is not the white light bulb that you light up. the frequencies of this white light simply go across the board and will go above and below what you call your visual perceptive range.
That's all.
Well, thank you.
Elan?
One moment. Over there.
Greetings to you and to the Shire.
Thank you.
Briefly, in terms of expectation and expectancies and disappointment, I'd like to, I guess, discuss relationships between men and women on our planet, and more specifically in a dating context. My recent experiences have been disappointing.
In what way? What did you set up for yourself? What in the relationship did not deliver what the relationship was, and in fact, rather you thought it should be something else?
Well, I think that previous, further back, I had expectations that, this was going to turn out to be the relationship that was so wonderful and everything.
But it was. It was the perfect reflection of that relationship that allowed you to explore those topics.
Yeah.
And your willingness to begin to acknowledge that, even hypothetically with the one back then, puts you in the orientation when you attract it now to begin to look at that way from scratch.
Well, I feel like I'm on a learning curve with this.
All right, that is one way to create it.
And that, each time I learn something, I relax my expectations, and instead of looking for a very specific kind of relationship, I'm much more open to any kind of relationship.
Why do you want one to begin with?
I'm not really sure.
Look at that. The idea is, if it is to, again, complete yourself,
It's not to complete.
that is distinctly different from simply sharing who you are. And if it is for the purpose of sharing who you are, begin now in whatever way you can in any situation to simply share who you are.
Well, what I find is that I feel much more complete as a person. I don't feel that I need a relationship or a person in my life or whatever to make me complete. I really honestly do not feel that way.
Then why are you then disappointed? Is not the disappointment assigned to you that to some degree you still feel incomplete? For feeling complete, you will attract whatever you attract. And you will say, all right, this is who I am attracting this. Let me explore what this is that I am attracting and let it be what it is. Oh, the form is changing. How exciting. I am now this being who is going to explore it changing. All right, it is no longer there. I am going to explore once again my own relationship. Where do you deviate from this?
Well, I feel that the relationships that I attract into my life lag behind, the reflection that it gives to me lags behind what I really feel that I am right now.
Well, congratulations. Why did he say that? I'll tell you. Because now that you know you contain that belief and are acknowledging it, you can choose a new belief. But until you acknowledged it, it would escape you. So, congratulations.
So that by acknowledging that belief, I will catch up with myself?
Well, first of all, saying, I contain the belief that everything's lagging behind, all right. Do I wish that to happen? No. Am I an automatic creator? Yes. What is the belief that I prefer? I prefer to believe that whatever I attract is a direct representation of who I am right now. All right. How would I act if I believe that? A little bit differently than you would act toward a person that you believed came along on a lag. And it is those actions that determine the effect you get out of whatever you are creating. So acknowledge that you have believed that. Thank yourself for having acknowledged it. State the new belief and begin to look at the evidence of the new belief rather than assuming that certain evidence simply tells you you are stuck in the old belief. Look for the differences when you attract a situation, not the similarities. The looking for and identifying the similarities is what makes it a similar experience. Is that usable?
And interestingly enough, we've spoken on a couple of occasions before about my going back into a job situation where I'm working with someone that had a relationship with. I viewed him as a symbol. I got the message. He got sick. He's been sick for 3 weeks.
Well, it's his turn to look at the symbol.
It is. Yeah.
But that is none of your business.
Well, I did call him a couple times just to see how he was doing because I was concerned because he was quite sick. And I find that with more of an expectancy instead of an expectation in terms of just relating to him as one human being to another without the constraints of a relationship or the baggage that a lot of people carry around with past relationships. Just dealing with him right here and now has been a really gratifying experience, and I completed the cycle of thanking and releasing that symbol.
So where is the lag?
Well, there is no lag there, and that's the really interesting thing.
All right, so you have a blatant example of that possibility as well.
Yeah.
Immediately realizing the effects of your creatorhood. Do you foundationally understand what I have said?
Yeah, I do. I just think that I have to now put it together so that it's completely integrated within me.
Can you do that right now? How can you put this all together in a phrase to be of assistance to yourself when you are feeling what you are sharing? Allow your imagination to come into play.
I don't understand what you mean when I'm feeling what I'm sharing. Can you say that again?
When the circumstance, quote unquote, comes up again, what phrase can you now use to transform it?
So that I don't feel like I'm lagging behind.
Ice.
Just to know that whatever I've attracted is exactly right for me and exactly the time that it comes up.
And looking for why it is relevant to you right now, not why it is an example of a lag.
And therefore not
shifting your emphasis.
in the past.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Over there, female.
Elan, I've been thinking how to exactly form my question. There is no one question, but I guess we'll get there. First of all, I want to know if are there any beings who are in fourth dimension living on Earth right now?
Not on the earth that you understand. You may realize that your Earth, as well as all planets, all, shall we say, bodies within the quote-unquote physical universe, are analogs, meaning that they exist simultaneously in an infinite number of different realities. So the fourth density versions of your Earth exist, but are of a different frequency and not perceptible to your third density representation. You will see examples of individuals living a fourth density lifestyle more and more. But there will be an abrupt shift when enough individuals are doing so that you will simply all be on the fourth density Earth.
So it has to be a mass thing, not individual.
Well, individually is how you will accelerate your perception of the mass acceleration. So it is still a very individual thing. But in general, it will time by agreement, since you all agree to co-create the reality in a similar timing. Yes, there will be certain individuals who will seem to live that way first, so to speak, linearly speaking. But they still have, shall we say, a foot in third for you to be able to perceive them.
Okay, and what works for you? Would it work here also?
The workability is perhaps you can say in the 70% range. Now, foundationally, excitement-wise, much of what we share to you is 100% applicable and usable. But how individuals are incorporating it and using it, still reverting to some degree to older, more limiting perspectives, puts it more into the 70% range. It is 100% usable and acceptable, however.
Because I've been thinking of so many different incidents in people where if this would work or not. In other words, if we chose to be in third density, isn't this part of that package, expectations and disappointments?
Well, Ace, but part of the transition from third to fourth is having a unique perspective to look at it without simply automatically doing it. And beginning now to understand that you have been doing this perhaps automatically, and perhaps now factoring preference and choice into it, into your creatorhood.
That's part of being in the transition.
Ace.
Yeah, I have been, another thing I've been wondering about is...
One moment. Is there something in particular that you find to be not workable in your reality, so that I may provide an example for how it is?
The details and leaving it open. There seems to be a contrast.
In other words,
suppose you want to, just a simple example, you want to look for a particular dress, a particular color, and you want to go shopping that day. So you intend to find a blue dress, for example.
All right.
Instead of saying I intend to find that dress, do you just say somehow I'm going to get, I don't know.
The intention is to find a blue dress. The most conducive attitude is to allow it to come whenever will be most conducive, and to take the steps that are available to begin to put into action acquiring the blue dress. So you go, for instance, to the store. You either find the blue dress or you do not. If you do not, you can sit around and, as you say, bum out that you have not found the blue dress, or you can say, well, while I'm at the store, perhaps I can look around, and you will find perhaps a very nice red dress. But the idea is you are not there for no reason until you say, well, I wasted my time. There's no blue dress here. That is a decision. That is a choice. That is where you take your own momentum and apply the trust in a conditional way, rather than saying, well, I assume, unless I am willing to go to another store, that I will not get the blue dress today, but I am here. That is significant. Therefore, what else might be here that might attract me? And you may find the exact set of shoes that will then allow you to match the dress.
So in other words, you adjust the expectations. You do the adjustments at the point where you realize that, oh, that's not going to happen. So you quickly adjust.
You have the intention clearly, and then allow the reality to be obvious. And then decide if it is not forthcoming, do I still want the blue dress? Well, obviously, yes. And get going back into the momentum of the nowness of your reality.
So it's
not leaving it open for you want that blue dress. But it is leaving it open as to exactly when you will get it and whatever, all right, accessories you will attract that will perhaps enhance the dress.
Isn't it the same as, is it a diluted form of believing in destiny?
Perhaps in one way, yes, but not directly. It is believing in the power of your decision, choice, and preference. Destiny is quite an arbitrary thing. For at the same time that everything already exists and everything has already happened, colloquially speaking, you are always experiencing it as if anew. So it is both, not one or the other.
Yeah, the whole time I've been trying to figure out the way I grew up was just be content whatever happens. It happens for good and all that.
Well, perhaps there were certain things taught in your childhood that are quite useful. You need not denigrate it because that was one of the things you learned back then when you perhaps also learned some things that were not of service to you.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Ace, man. Ace.
I've been experiencing a ringing in my ears at my home at different points. Sometimes in meditation, sometimes not. And I'm wondering about...
Do you find this when lying in bed at night?
Yes.
You are experiencing the precursors to what you call astral travel.
So I experience it too on my couch in the morning after I wake up. So that might be after astral travel also.
Well, in general, again, precursor to it, before it.
Yeah, because I took it and validated it as an energy, an etherical energy of this person who used to live in the house and has died and hasn't chosen to really moved on yet. I think he's still there. We've spoken of him before. And I think of it as him sometimes. I'm not really sure how to identify that kind of being.
Well, when you feel him, it is him. When you simply hear the ringing, it is beginning to extend your senses into that particular ability.
Well,
and from that state, what you call the astral state, at least at this point, is the only state in which you can visit our planet. And the simple way of doing so is when you find yourself astral, or shall I say, presenting an astral form of your consciousness. You can move from point A to B in a line, fly if you wish, but you can also simply feel how interacting with me allows you to feel. And that emotional vibration, that emotion, that energy motion will, perhaps you can say, dial our phone number and deliver you to us.
Yes. That's what I get. That's what I do. Really a beautiful feeling.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's very emotional, very warming.
So as well, have a good trip.
Yes. And I have a question also. In my house, there's a balloon. It's a toy balloon, a helium balloon. And it arrived, it's my landlady's daughter's as a gift around Christmas. And just yesterday, it started to descend from the ceiling. And that's over a month. And these balloons usually don't last a very long time. It's a very cheap balloon, cheap material. And I see it as a symbolic, something to do with what's going on in their lives. Is there anything?
Not really.
Maybe the symbol of it at all for them? I mean, I shared with her about her, maybe a symbol of hope of some sort. I hope, but you know, it's
Keep going.
unusual experience. I took it as a gift from her late husband, as just a symbol that things are up. You know, things are okay. And as soon as we spoke of it and became aware of it, you know, speaking of on these terms, the balloon descended, you know.
I have nothing to add to that.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Elan,
There will be but a few moments remaining to this interaction. Shedding.
Elan?
Vinny,
Yes.
speak.
Elan, I have greetings from Theodorable.
Oh, thank you. Returned. Oh, one of Teo.
He said that someone came to visit him. There was a spaceship over his house in Washington.
Oh, yeah?
But he wasn't home.
Very symbolic. Porch lights on, nobody's home. Just a joke. What is the question?
Well, that was just a greeting from him. And then my question, expectation, back to expectations and disappointments. I went gambling and I lost.
No, you didn't. You simply made no money. You were a complete winner. Why do you not choose to embody that winner? And where is your line that something in your reality can actually dictate to you that you have chosen to feel like a loser?
So I did win an awful lot.
Oh, yes.
It cost me.
You have a saying, sometimes some of the best things do.
And,
You also functioned from, all right, rather than pulling punches. Complete desperation.
yes.
Rather than excitement. And if you are excited about the playing of the game, excited about the symbol, then I assume you will be excited about whatever the outcome is. If you have a specific rigid expectation, which is the only way you will accept it, which obviously was not how it turned out, then the reason for the disappointment is obvious. Now, are you a winner or a loser? Oh, thank you.
It was an experience I learned an awful lot from. And
Awful lot. All right.
well,
That means
Interesting language.
great deal.
Oh, thank you. Was that better?
Each I won $100 in one shot, and then I just gave it back to him. And each thing that I did there was another experience, another learning tool for me. So yes, it was a great experience. In thinking of this, I had this conversation.
By the way, when, colloquially speaking, you donate money to a bandit, does that not generally infer you will wind up without it?
That's good. That's very good.
One arm bandit.
That's very good.
Is that all?
Yes.
Ace, female.
I have a question about creating or manifesting or materializing items out of taking maybe orgone energy and creating different things. Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It is, however, not part of the mass agreed upon reality. So therefore, in general, when an individual will explore that, only will other individuals perceive it if they are the individuals agreeing to suspend, so to speak, the agreement. Otherwise, you may find yourself doing so alone with no witnesses.
That would be okay.
Well, all right.
How would one go about that?
Well, what do you wish to manifest, and why do you feel that perhaps that is the only way to get it?
I wish to manifest monies.
Ah. So, if only this would happen, then you would allow yourself to live the life that you prefer. Why not simply define that life and begin to live it now? The only thing holding you back is that.
Sounds like a shoestring.
You are also assuming that money is the only symbol that will enable you and allow you to play out and explore the things. It is certainly one symbol and a very powerful mass agreed upon symbol in your reality. But your willingness to expand and broaden your definition of abundance to simply allow it to be your needs met in whatever way they will be met will allow you to need less money, for you will find other areas of the delivery of your abundance and begin to flow with allowing your abundance to come, again, not as a rigid expectation, but an expectancy. This is what I wish to do, and I am completely open as to how the methodologies will come about to do that. If someone hands me the money, fine, I'll take it. If someone offers to give it to me, fine, I'll take it. If someone offers an exchange, and so on and so forth. There are many other ways to attract it other than simply the money. So my particular, shall we say, perspective to you would be to look at what it is you wish to manifest in that way and begin to look at creating, for now, along the path of least resistance. If it is simply the excitement of materialization and whatever you materialize is not important, a penny or a dollar doesn't matter, then you will have far more success in exploring the symbol. But if the underlying notion is, I need something, and this will provide it in an easy way to get it, which implies that the regular way is not easy, which is a definition, then perhaps you will prevent yourself from doing so, so that you remain focused on what you believe you can accomplish and what you believe you cannot. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It would also be fun to be able to play around with manifestation.
Well, if that is your reason for doing so, you increase your likelihood of success.
I see. Oh, okay. I have one other question.
All right.
We're talking about how when people astral travel, it's easy to get from point A to point B, or to get to Essassani, for example. I've tried to direct my astral traveling, and sometimes it seems like I'm just going through darkness.
Did you listen to how I said to do it? For the idea is not a forcing or a pushing or a control, or even really a strong intentionful mode. What it is an emotion. When you interact with me, I assume it allows you to feel a certain way. That is what dials you into location in that state. Creating an image, perhaps, yes, but creating an emotion behind that image brings you to that point. Not in a straight line, but simply pop, you're there. You can travel linearly, flying from here to there, or simply have the idea, imbue it with the emotion, and be there.
Thank you. Why?
What is the question?
Why does emotion have that power?
For emotion is an activation mechanism in the prism that you define as your personality of belief, emotion, and thought. It is the mover of the energy. Emotion, energy, motion.
The reason I ask is I find myself in my work really directing or guiding people to go into their feelings all the time then.
Well, this can be, first of all, for identification purposes, for as we have shared, an emotion never exists in a vacuum and is always a result of a belief, so can then help you trace back to the belief. That is one way of using emotions, but we are also speaking now of using positive emotions for the purposes of moving your energy in a specific way. That is another application of it. Oh, thank you. At this timing, allow me now not to disappoint anyone who may have expected to speak to me, but to thank you all and express my and our unconditional love and appreciation for your willingness to begin to simply look at the possibility of the notion that you created all. You can, if you wish, form a clear intention and have an absolute expectancy that that intention will manifest. But only if you are willing to trust the timing and in the form of that trust remain grounded to what you are doing, to what is available. That allows you to continue in fluid motion. That allows there to be a perpetuation. That allows there to not be a stagnation or paralysis. Grounding yourself to what is right in front of you, seeing what your choices clearly are, not what you can't do, but what you can, and then choosing from those choices the option that excites you the most, that moves you the most from what's there, acting upon that option with integrity, knowing that you have more than enough power to create anything you wish without harming yourself or anyone else, is all it takes to create that clear intention and allow yourself to see in practice that that expectancy is simply a knowingness of the mechanism of your creation and a knowingness of your willingness to exercise your creatorhood. Therefore, again, you are the appointers, you are the appointees, you are the disappointers and the disappointees. Expectancy will never yield disappointment. Expectation may or may not. Therefore, as always, we leave it up to you. We thank you for your willingness to exercise your power in the form of choice and preference, for that is what will allow you to create a life of choice and preference. And bid you a most fond and loving